week we're on, but here we are again. Parent Podcast. Welcome. I'm Reed.
I'm Shannan.
And we have special guest today, Ryan Johnson.
Hey.
Usually edits our things, but today we got him on the front end.
I know.
I got roped in.
We did rope you in. Literally, he wasn't even scheduled to be on this thing.
We discovered how many golden nuggets he had for today's topic.
We discussed that he was a dad. We found out that he was a dad.
And not any dad.
Here we are.
A dad with a daughter.
A girl dad.
Girl dad.
As a fellow girl dad, I look up to you.
Same.
I feel like girl dads gotta stick together. If you are a dad of a girl, you're in.
Yeah, the girl scares me a lot worse than the boy.
See, that's what I've heard, but then again, I've also heard, as couples, people are like, really, we were meant to raise girls. Like, we're really good at it. Or they were like, we were meant to raise boys. Like,
I needed the mixed bag.
Super
I am
weird.
so glad that I'm not like... I mean, I think I could handle being all girls, but I could not be a 100% boy mom.
Oh, I could not handle all girls. I literally, when we found out that we were having a second child, I was like, please. Which is great because it's going to be a boy. Yeah, which is great because it's going to be a boy.
You
so
think.
That's good.
There are still cases of sonogram mistakes.
You know what? It would not surprise me because I always thought that I would just be a girl dad. So that's why this conversation is great, because we're going to talk about the importance of a father-daughter relationship in their development.
Correct. It's scientifically, as kids progress, it is very important that they have good relationships with the opposite gender parent. So we will be at some point talking about the mother-son relationship as well. But early on in development, that opposite gender parent-child relationship is very important for them just developing a lot of their identity pieces, understanding healthy relationships with the opposite sex. So I know parents often are so worried about the dating stage. Well, a lot of the stuff that comes out there is developed in the early years in the parenting relationship stage. So
yeah, and can I just say too, like, before we get like really started, if you're a mom and there is no dad in the picture, this will be vice versa for the other week too. How important it is to just see what the role of the dad plays, because you're gonna see a little bit of what is missing or lacking in your kids or what they need. And nobody can replace the dad, but still just trying to go out of your way. Like, we provide. We have awesome guys on youth staff, and they do not replace a dad. But in a lot of ways, they see what a good, healthy Christian male looks like, and how they parent their kids, and even a little bit how they help parent. They help you parent your kid. Yeah, and which is so valuable.
And that point goes to, I think, anything that we see in our kids as parents is, if there is something we cannot give our kids that we know is important for them, making intentional steps to get that into their life, get them around the right people, the right relationships. I mean, just in general, church relationships are so important because one day your kids are going to think you're stupid and don't know anything.
Yeah.
And they're going to think their youth leader.
But, yeah.
Right. They're going to think their youth leader or their church person or whoever, or their best friend from church's parents are the bee's knees.
Way better.
And know so much more than you do.
They don't even make them eat vegetables.
I was thinking that was every day.
yeah, no joke.
But making intentional steps to get the right relationships in there early so that they're there when you actually need them, and not waiting till that crisis moment of you're like, I can't give my kid this stuff, fix them. And it's like, well, relationships take a little time. So
yeah, but then there's always still time.
Right.
Like, yeah,
there's always
there's
still
time. Like if you're like, wow, man, my son, daughter, whatever, needs a great mom figure, needs a great dad figure. There's still time to find those. Just look for people that you love and trust and invite them in.
Why don't we have you introduce yourself a little bit more and your experience as a parent?
Yeah, your experience. Well, I just want to say real quick, that speaks to me. Part of my story, I'm Ryan, and part of my story is that my father wasn't in the picture when I was little. My biological father left when I was 1, and then it was just me and my mom for a while, and being kind of tossed around. So I missed that, and in the midst of that, when you're a child, you don't really realize the effects that has, but then you have to go back and fix things later because you realize like your confidence issues, those different things, that the struggling with self-esteem, that was kind of a product of like, well, why doesn't my biological dad love me? Why doesn't he want to be involved in my life? So that is such an important role to play, and if God has given us that opportunity, I just think that we need to do our best.
Yeah.
So I have 2 kids. I have a junior in high school, 16-year-old Corbin Johnson. So we've been doing some soccer here lately, and it's back on. Quarantine hasn't closed everything.
It is back on.
And then I have a daughter, Morgan, who is 11 and in 5th grade, and she's been such a blessing. So we kind of got started early by accident. We had Corbin when we were 20, my wife and I, and then Morgan a little while later. She was more planned than Corbin.
You had to recover from the accidental. Yeah,
I know there's a solid recovery period between those kids.
Well, and part of it was just trying to build a stable atmosphere in life. When you're young and you have a child, I embraced those challenges, but it definitely adds a different element. Like, hey, I want to establish myself a little bit before I bring another child into this mix. But both of them have been such a blessing to me. Just amazing kids. I'm really truly blessed. It's kind of interesting because my daughter mirrors my personality and my son mirrors my wife's personality. So it's kind of interesting we're talking about this because I think it makes a big difference, and it's a big deal in my life with my daughter and our relationship.
Yeah, and kids always tend to drift that way. Like at the beginning, it's been funny. My daughter's almost 3. It's been funny to see the shift of I spend every day with mommy, and I'm with her all the time. All I need is mommy. Daddy, get out of here. To like now at 3, like when I get home, it's over. Like we're playing, goofing around, running around everywhere. Like yesterday or a couple days ago, she was like, "Daddy, let's go on a walk," and I was like, "Okay, let's go on a walk." And she's like, "No, mommy, you stay here. It's just me and daddy." So it is kind of funny how they drift into that. They drift into what they need, and girls tend to drift into their dad, and guys tend to drift into in their mom relationship.
Yeah, our youngest is starting to transition into liking Alan a little bit more.
Yeah.
She's been very mommy centric since we got her. It's been 8 months now, so. So yeah, they're starting to hang out a little bit more on her, not just be mad all the time.
It's a journey, that's for sure.
But I think one of the things that you were talking about that's so key is students and kids, they start to grow, and in an environment where they're comfortable and an environment where they're stable, they are able to explore way more outside of their personal needs. Their needs are being taken care of because they have dad and they have mom.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so they're able to explore all these other things, and they're a little bit more well-rounded. But I think that that's so key. I think having dad around, and I think this works actually the same 2-parent home. There's just this crazy macro of stability that you don't get with a single parent that is provided. And I don't think we necessarily see it. Like you were saying about your own, you saying about your own childhood. I don't think we see what dad provides to child, or we don't fully see what mom provides a child, other than the fact that it's a little bit easier to not see dad because we're dads. Right.
And
True.
And just to speak out again, I feel like we need to reiterate it a couple times, because I think single parents can be so discouraged that they just can't give this piece
anymore.
It's they do their best to be both parents, but my dad was raised by a single mom because his dad passed away when he was 2nd grade, I think. But my grandma was intentional about getting those, like we said, getting those relationships in his life. He had strong Christian men in his life that he was able to look up to. And it wasn't his dad, and it didn't replace his dad, but it let him know what that looks like. And my dad was super family centric, like drove me a little bit batty as I got older. He still is. It's good qualities now, but like we had that rough patch, and I was a daddy's girl. Still a little bit am, as much as you can be when you're a grown adult with kids of your own.
We know how this works.
Basically, we are the same person for the good, bad, and the ugly of that relationship.
I'm 28 and still a mama's boy.
It's the same with my daughter, and you know, she's 11. And
Yep. But I kind of forget where I'm going with that. But basically, like, having those intentional relationships, and like family was very important to him because he didn't have all the pieces of what that mom, dad to family household was growing up. So
well, and single parents can be so effective. I mean, my mom was a single parent, and I saw her drive to, you know, it was the 80s, so her drive to quit smoking, her drive to go back to school to be able to provide for me. And then she was also, something I respect about her is she made sure that my uncle was involved, my grandpa was involved, so that there were those strong male influences still in my life. You know, and I still had my struggles with some of those relationships, but that looking back, that was just such a valuable thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll navigate more into the father-daughter relationship, but let's talk about a little bit just what are the things you're intentional about as a father with your daughter, especially both of you only have one girl.
Yes.
So it's not like you had practiced before this. You're experiencing everything girl new first time.
Yeah, literally my experience was just trying to find a wife. So like until now I have never been like, how do we invest in females? Like it's been mostly like, can I find a female to bring stability to my chaotic life? That's pretty much what Christian college was like.
I mean, I think
right.
for me, the first step is just to make sure that, you know, I'm mirroring what a healthy relationship is with my wife, right? What she sees, the respect that we show each other, even in disagreements, the way we resolve issues in a healthy manner. And so that was kind of the first step for me. And then, you know, as an extension of that is maybe, you know, she loves sushi. Morgan absolutely loves sushi.
Oh, yes.
My wife hates sushi. So that is like our daddy-daughter date. You know,
Nice.
we'll go get some sushi. And
What's your favorite sushi place?
Kroger.
No.
They got those.
Their eel is so chewy. It's terrible.
Okay, all right, guys. Well, I thought we were talking about sushi, not eel. Like,
I'm not.
you guys are talking about something different now.
I don't go
Imitation crab doesn't count.
California rolls.
So we actually went to a place in Florence called Drake's recently that was pretty good, and I think there's some of those around, and it's kind of like a catch-all. Like it has sushi, but it also has burgers. So that'd be a good family restaurant. But
have you done wabi sabi in Covington?
No.
You should go.
Check that out.
You should go to Westchester, and there's a samurai sushi, and it's super dope.
There's a Mr. Sushi in Clifton that I've been to a couple times. It's pretty good too.
I think I might have been there on accident one time.
It's pretty good.
Nice. So those are your daddy-daughter dates. How often do you do daddy-daughter dates?
You know, not as often as we'd like because of just sports and schedules. But we usually try to do something together like once a month or so. And even if it's just we take a walk, like Reed was saying, you know, just doing something just us or playing a video game with her, just kind of trying to spend that one-on-one time to be more intentional and talking to her and just, you know, spending time. You know, there's no replacement for just being present in the moment.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say was like I literally think Kinley doesn't care. I think she could care less what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
But I know and I sense it, and she's 3, so like she doesn't have tells. You know what I mean? Like she's not trying to hide anything. And I will never forget it because it was like a year ago, and she's a little bit easier to understand now. But then she would just do this thing where she would just want to hang out, and so she would be like, "Get off your phone." Or like even when I wasn't on my phone, she would tell me to get off my phone, and that was like her way of just telling me that she just really wants to like. She just wants to be seen. Like she literally, even at 3, she wants to be seen by her dad, and so that is so incredibly valuable for her because she sees, like she sees how a male should treat a female, which would work vice versa. I mean, like, males learn how to respect females from their mother.
Right.
So, like, she just giving her that undivided attention of, like, I see you, like, I love you, I want to spend time with you. Like, you are the dopest child, is what I tell her.
Insert your own culture reference there.
Your own culture, yeah. My child will be weird by the time she's 12, and, like, I'm totally okay with that.
So, something my daughter and I did, we have our own handshake. You know,
oh, that's cool, yeah.
Little French fry action.
Yep.
Yeah. The fist. So that's always been kind of a cool way to connect and just be with her.
Well, we always say it's like making memes. Like, that's one of our youth group slogans. Like, if we can make a mem, then we're good.
Mem.
Yeah, making memes. Making memories. But that's what it is. Like, it doesn't even it doesn't matter how, like, crazy or weird or dumb it is. Like, when you make the memory and then you're like, she's gonna last. It's something as crazy as a handshake. Like, she will remember that forever as something that me and my dad did.
Yep.
And, like, she has, like, a personal, like, he invested in me in weird ways, you know?
Yeah, and as I was doing a little bit of research for this, one of the quotes that came up was actually from Modern Family. So whether or not you watch that, I think this is a very valid quote. One of the characters there said 90% of being a dad is just showing up.
I believe it.
And I'd say as a daughter, that's very valid. Like, I grew up in an era where, I mean, I wouldn't say divorce was rampant, but, I mean, it was probably a 50-50 split on which of my friends had divorce situations, which of my friends' parents were still in-house, not whether it was a good situation or not, you know. Yeah. But most of my good memories of my dad are moments where he was just present for the important things that were going on. My recitals that I did, or I managed basketball in high school for a bit. He'd bring me dinner. Like, family dinner was huge in our family. It's still huge in my family with my kids. We're very intentional about that. But I'd have to do practices or games or whatever, and they would bring me family dinner. Like, whatever they had for dinner that night, I got my family dinner, and everybody thought that was super weird, and they called us the Brady Bunch.
I'm a little jealous, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, let me tell you, family dinner is way better than McDonald's.
Yeah, right.
So, but like my dad would show up, he'd make sure I was taken care of, and he always fought for family time. We're probably the biggest things of our family life, and I mean, I think every relationship has those moments where you're like, oh, I remember this moment, but on the whole, it's just being there and supporting you that you remember. Like, it's the feelings, it's not the words, it's not what you did right or did wrong necessarily.
Thanks for that. I feel like I could be successful now because I do show up. I don't always feel like I got the right things to say.
Okay, and then the only other thing that I would say is super important past showing up that I remember my dad did, he would say, I love you and I'm proud of you, whether I did something well, did something wrong, or did anything at all. Like, he'd randomly say it in the middle of the living room on a Saturday afternoon with nothing else going on, and he'd say it after any of my activity. He'd say it all the time, and I never doubted that my parents loved me, or that they loved each other, or that we were going to be a successful family. Like, those were things that I never had to worry about.
Yeah. Well, this is what I think is so interesting, is that, like, the more we're talking about it, the more I think, like, we really are wired for, like, craving attention from the opposite sex. And, like, our parents of the opposite sex give us all of that. So when mom or dad aren't in the picture, we're missing, like, a huge piece of how we even deal with. I know a lot of, we're in student ministry, so a lot of the girls that we see that don't have great relationships with their dad, they're still looking for attention from males in some way, whether that's from us on staff, or whether that's from peers, whatever that is. They're looking for it, and we notice it. And part of that is, like, healthy boundaries with the opposite sex, or, like, what does validation look like? Because sometimes they think they're being validated and they aren't. and what looks like positive attention is not. And I think that that's the main role that I play in Kinley's life as her girl dad, is like, I want to make sure that she would be totally content with the affirmation and the validation that she receives from me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'd say from the children's world, a way to help that early on is validate your husband to your kids, boys and girls alike. Like, say, what a good daddy you have, like how he's helping, he's doing that, like make them know that you have a good example in your father, if that is true, obviously. If not, like work on that as a family. And then also make sure, it's always been a little pet peeve of mine, and I definitely don't do it with my kids, but it's very common in, especially the toddler world. I feel like that's like, oh, you have a little boyfriend, or oh, you have a little girlfriend, or da-da-da, like, and you start, like, it seems weird, but even at that young age, starting to detach them from the relationship of their parents into like this dating world that they are nowhere, and like we think it's just verbiage, but words become reality. So don't manifest that mentality in your kids early in life, especially. Like, if you want your kid to wait a long time to date, don't talk about dating for a very long time. Like,
or send them to our youth group, because we don't condone youth group dating.
There you go. Yeah. They each have their own side of the building, right? Like,
we don't let them
cross
we don't
over.
Let them look at each other.
Is it the Quakers that do that? Something like that?
We put horse blinders on, so all they can see is Jesus.
But
you can use that.
But early on, like, if you're going to reinforce the relationship with the opposite sex parent, not with other kids that they're just friends with. Like, it's just BFFs. Like, my middle, he's always like, that's my best friend. That's my best friend. I was like, great, I'm glad you have lots of friends. And sometimes they're boys and sometimes they're girls, but they're just best friends. And that's where we leave it. Like, it's a best friend.
Right.
Yeah, that's solid advice. I mean, Shannan, you were talking, and something that I think about is that my daughter still comes up and says, "Oh, you're the best daddy." Every time. Melts my heart to this day. Will continue to melt my heart for the rest of my life, I'm sure. But, it's awesome, because it kind of helps to reinforce that, even though I might not feel that way, I don't need to vocalize that to her. I always think I got room for improvement on that front, but I'm trying to do the best I can, in the circumstance, and point her to God. And she's got such an amazing heart, so she makes it easy in that regard.
Yeah. I also think that male figures tend to have a perception of, or perceived as, like an apathetic type of nonchalant personality. And that for me is something that I never want my daughter to feel that way. I never want her to feel like that's how I feel about her.
Right.
And I don't want her to eventually find a guy that is like that either.
Truth.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's cultural, though, right? Guys don't need to appear weak, and that's something I've tried to change in my life. Like, it's better to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I think they learn to. I think they legitimately learn to love. Even somehow you drift into like. It is super funny how we talk about the opposite parent all the time, and kids talk about their opposite sex parent all the time. But I think that's because they are learning the most from them, like cognitively. But like naturally, they still learn so much easily from their same sex parent. Like Kinley has learned so much from Ariel, but like just in a weird way. Like she just it's like she just picks it up. Like she was
use examples.
Yes, like I used this right beforehand. Like she sat down in front of me and started folding a shirt and said, "Daddy, is this clean or dirty?" And I said, "That's clean." And she said, "Okay, put it away." Like that is something she learned from her mom, not from me.
You got to teach her the smell test.
Yeah, right.
Rue's learned how to pick out a matching pair of shoes for me. Like that.
See?
That is legit.
But I think I don't know if it's just from like easily watching. Like I don't know if it's just because she's just around her all the time, which is definitely probably a part of it. But like it's like you naturally pick up the tendencies or her genetics were just passed on or something, Whereas, like, I feel like our words carry a ton more weight in how we teach them about us, or how we teach them the dude side of things. Like, when we teach them how to love as a dude, it's just different than love as a dad is different than love as a mom.
Yeah, and I would say, I know toxic masculinity and, like, all the, like, stereotypes of what you should and shouldn't be as a guy is so
Machismo.
big right now. And, like, the thing that I press, especially because in my family, in my marriage and household and everything, we are very just atypical across the board as far as what your gender stereotypes are and all that stuff. Like, if you are a silent stoic guy, like, that's not necessarily bad, but you have to figure out what is your way of communicating to your kids, communicating your feel. Like, you don't have to be a sit down and let me tell you all the gushy stuff kind of dad you, like, I've seen on Pinterest, there was, like, this thing, I started crying about it, like, but it was this girl whose dad wrote on a Post-it note, like, an affirmation sentence every day and just left it for her through high school, and she kept all of those and then framed it for him and gave him, I'm already starting to tear up a little bit, framed it and gave it to him for, like, a birthday present or something like that. So, I mean, that wasn't like a gushy, let me sit down, but that was how he communicated his feelings to his daughter. It made a world of difference to both of them in the long run. So, like, don't feel like you have to be a certain type of person or dad or this masculinity or that or more feminine or what, all the terms that are being thrown around. Like, figure out who your kid is and how you communicate best and make that work for your relationship.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Just find a way that works for you as a dad to communicate how much you love and give them that validation that they need.
Yeah,
I love that. That's something as a dad I struggle with a little bit is, culturally what we see in images and what she thinks she needs to be based on what she sees through media and so, through apps and whatever else. And so, my struggle lately has been, how do I teach her self-confidence? How do I help her know that how valuable she is? And, I'm telling her that, but how do I make her feel that way outside of the context when she's not around me, when she's not around her mother?
Yeah. I don't know if I have a one-off for that.
No, I just speak it into existence. You know what I mean? Like, that literally, it sounds so cheesy all the time, but like, me and Ariel kind of firmly believe in that a little bit of, like, if you want it to come true, just keep saying it. And so, like, Kinley all the time is like, Daddy, I love spending time with you. And then she also goes into this, like, affirmation fest. She's like, I like your shoes. I like your shirt. I like your hair. And we just do it back. I like your hair. I like your shirt. Like, you're so beautiful. You're so pretty and whatever. And we love your hair. We love, like, whatever. And just speaking that all the time on her, I feel like will help. Like, I'm hoping that is the end result. I'm hoping that the end result of that, which I guess time will tell because she's 3. I'm hoping that's the end result of, like, I feel self-worth and I love myself because for years my family has been like, we love you. You're so great. This is what we love about you. Whatever.
Yeah, and I think again, people are probably sick of us saying relationships on here.
I know.
But make sure the relationships that stay closest to your kids are the ones that are saying the things that you are already telling them. Yeah. So, like, you gotta stay in the game until the end, and hopefully, again, the things you have instilled in them, you've been intentional about, all that stuff, it sticks when they can make all of their own choices. Yeah. My 7-year-old constantly asked, when can I make my own choices? And I was like, we've got some time here, kid.
Right now. Oh, yeah.
You can choose what color shirt you want to wear in the morning. And that is about it right now. Like,
well, what I think is good, and now that when Ryan talked about it earlier, I think this really is a big piece. A lot of the girls that I know who have awesome relationships with their dad just go spend time, like, their dad goes out of their way to just spend time with them solo. Or if they, like, they have 4 kids, but they each have, like, a daddy-daughter day or whatever, and they go out of their way to spend the time. Yeah. It's so easy to drift into, like, I'm a dad, and so therefore I have a boy, and so mom does everything with the girl and dad does everything with the boy.
Which we're a little guilty on at the moment, but
those things are what they remember. That daddy-daughter date, type of thing, they kill it.
I remember the 2 weeks my dad was in between jobs so vividly because every day at lunch we ate bologna cups and watched Bonanza.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was like 2 years of my life in my memory, but my mom's like, that was like 2 weeks. And then apparently we wanted Mom to come back after that, so I guess in the moment it wasn't the most, but like it's a very vivid memory I have. Yeah, beef bologna, microwave it for a minute, it rolls up and crisps on the edge. It's delicious. You should try it. Put a little macaroni in that.
I'm a fried bologna fan, but like regular bologna.
It's like a microwave fried bologna option.
That is, you made that sound worse. I didn't know you could make bologna sound worse.
So my wife and I are guilty of that too. We call it divide and conquer parenting.
Yep.
You know, both kids have soccer games, different places, but something we've tried to do as part of that is like, well, sometimes you take
just
Morgan,
mix it up.
Sometimes I take Morgan. And so we're kind of mixing it up, and that way we kind of, in a way, you know, even though it's not a daddy-daughter date, we're still getting some intentional time in the car, talking.
And I'm able to show up to your thing now.
Yes. And I think one of the things that is natural for a lot of guys that benefited me as a daughter is teaching life skills. So like my dad showed me how to check the oil when I got a car. And I remember lots of times hanging out in my dad's workshop and hammering nails into the scrap wood and all that kind of stuff. But he taught me how to do basic woodworking type stuff. So when I got a house, he came over and kind of helped me redo my upstairs bathroom. That's a story for another day. But I mean, I think that's a very easy spot for a lot of dads to, like, I mean, that's what girls do naturally. Like, we cook and the girl cooks with us and da-da-da-da-da. But don't exclude your daughter from all those life skill moments that guys have, because odds are your daughter's going to live on her own for a handful of years.
And you empower her.
And and she won't feel like she needs a guy in her life to do all those things that you never taught her, because you'll have taught her, and she'll probably do it better than the guy.
Well, this is.
Did you teach that to my grandma?
This is like discipleship 101 almost. Like, just invite them into what you're already doing.
Yep.
And like, as a dad, I'm super guilty of this. I've had multiple times where I am doing something with the car, or like I'm trying to build something real quick or whatever, and I'm like, I could have got this done 30 minutes ago if my daughter was not here right now.
All parenting has that sidebar.
Right, and then like, I've literally caught myself in the moment of like, dude, what's it matter? Like, if the end result is that, like, I want to build an awesome legacy through my kids, and, like, I want them to have a great life, like, then what's it matter if I spend an extra 30 minutes out here a little bit longer, even just explaining to her how an engine works, and she's 3 and she could care less, really. Right. But it's just the time. It's just the time, and we're doing something together. And a lot of dads speak through that. A lot of dads speak through, like, I'll show you I care by teaching you how to change your oil or change a tire or whatever.
Our daughter went with my husband to the hardware store because the boys wanted to play on their tablet all day, and we weren't willing to fight anything. So I was like, okay, if you think having her at the hardware store will let you accomplish whatever it is you need to do, go for it. Apparently they had the best time. She was like,
it was so great,
shaking the box of nails, and people were saying she's cute, and he's like, I have to talk to her the whole time, or she starts crying. I was like, yep, that's our daughter. That's how it goes. Be prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, show up and invite them in. I think those are probably the two summaries.
Something that I'm getting more mindful of now, Reed, is, you know, well, your daughter's 3, right?
Yeah.
So with my daughter being 11 now, it's like, I can't buy that time back. So even if it takes me the extra 30 minutes, the extra effort and 40 minutes, or a little frustration, like, it's worth it, because as she continues to age and friends become more important, and she continues to develop into,
it's like, you're not my best friend anymore.
Yeah, but you know, and there's that line of, you know, being a friend and being a parent. But I think we have to take that parent role and just love on them, you know, affirm them and empower them, and let her know she is capable of anything she puts her mind to. And, but I will never regret spending those extra, you know, half hours here and there, having her involved.
No, and I think that's what it boils down to. Is like, I know that I'll regret not spending that time.
Absolutely.
But I know that I'll never regret taking the time to walk around my house 5 times trying to talk to her about what the hose does.
teaching her what a vice grip is.
Yeah, just where the...
Hey, give me the Phillips screwdriver. Well, which one is that?
Currently, right now, we're just talking through where the water in the hose comes from. We're at that stage right now.
All right.
Learn all about utilities.
Solid plumbing.
Yeah, right. That's what I went into, this is what you're going to have to pay for.
Important life lesson.
We don't get extra goldfish if we leave this on.
See, your mortgage
this water costs goldfish.
This is why you don't get more for allowance.
So any final words? I think we've talked super long this time, but I hope it was beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, no, I think girl dads are passionate, so we could talk about this forever.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'll end with these little nuggets according to research. Girls that have healthy relationships with their dad get better grades in school. They have better self-esteem. They are more assertive without being aggressive. They are more confident in relationships with men, and they are more likely to be admitted to graduate school. So you're setting your daughter up for the long-term success.
Speaks for itself.
If you spend those extra couple minutes with her.
Absolutely.
So... Well, that got somber.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad.
That's a reflection, I mean, I can't speak for Reed, but I'm so proud of my daughter. I'm so proud of watching her grow and just all the things that I can envision her accomplishing. And just, at the end of the day, more than anything, it's just her heart. She's got such a good heart for other people. And just, she is able to speak her mind and be assertive when needed, but at the end of the day, she still loves people, and so I hope that's a reflection of me.
Man.
But it's more of probably a reflection of my wife and I together. But she just, she's awesome. You're right. Daughter dads are passionate, and we love our daughters fiercely. So
that's good stuff.
Well, I'm sure she's great because you're being a great dad, man.
So in 2 weeks, we'll be back. Are we going to tackle mother-son?
Yeah, mother-son.
Mother-son relationships.
I'm going to talk about how I'm a mama's boy.
I have about 8 months experience in this category, so I'll bring all of my learnings and most of my failures.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So until next time, we'll see you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.